Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. So as you are all aware, Manchester United do go up against Liverpool this Sunday at Old Trafford 4:30 kick-off. And obviously we are massive underdogs going into the game. Obviously reflecting on our disastrous start to the season. We are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades, and so far this season we've only registered 9 points from a possible 24. So obviously, due to that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is under serious pressure at the football club. Now, obviously, Liverpool, of course, have enjoyed a fantastic start to this season. Obviously, they've won 8 games out of 8. They are sitting 8 points clear at the top, ahead of Manchester City, and I think they are around 15 points in front of Manchester United. And obviously, Liverpool are aware of their expectations, and I think their expectations this season will be to win the Premier League, because obviously Liverpool have never won the Premier League since it got named in 1992 or 1993, and of course they haven't won it overall for around 30 years of Liverpool. But they're obviously going to be massive favourites going into this game. Obviously Liverpool's record at Old Trafford though is actually very, very bad. They've only won twice at Old Trafford in the Premier League in the last decade. The last time they did win at Old Trafford obviously was back in 2014, under the David Moyes era, and I think they did win by 3-0. And I think the fixture last season was 0-0. But even though Liverpool are strides ahead of us at the moment, Manchester United and Liverpool is still an iconic fixture. They are the two most successful clubs in England historically. Obviously I think overall Liverpool have won 43 trophies, Manchester United have won 42 trophies, and obviously we've won 20 titles. Liverpool, of course, have won 18 older first divisions. But like I mentioned, Liverpool are at least 2 to 3 years ahead of us at the moment. But so far this season, they have won 8 games out of 8. And to be fair, I've got to be honest, Jurgen Klopp's done a really good job with Liverpool. Obviously, I know he hasn't really won much in terms of silverware. He only won his first major honour with Liverpool last season. Of course, Liverpool won the Champions League last season. They've obviously won the Champions League 6 times. Obviously, before I think he was at Liverpool, he did win a couple of titles with Borussia Dortmund. But Jurgen Klopp has actually done a good job. But Liverpool have come close on quite a few occasions, to winning the Premier League. They was unlucky last season. They got pipped by Manchester City. They also enjoyed a great season under Brendan Rodgers back in 2013-14, and there was close that particular season, to winning it. And when obviously Liverpool lost the likes of Philippe Coutinho and Luis Suarez, a vast majority of people, believed that, Liverpool would have crumbled and that, but obviously, they didn't. And I think, I hate Liverpool a lot, as you all know, but I'll credit them. They've done a good investment, and there was also, very, very sensible with their recruitment. They didn't overpay for players. Obviously, they didn't sign anyone in the summer, but in like what I mean is in the last couple of windows, they did good investment. They paid £75 million for Virgil van Dijk, obviously the best centre-half in the world. They also got Allinson in. You can probably say at this present time he's the best goalkeeper in the world, but not overall. And Liverpool have got a great attacking trio in Salah, Firmino, and Mane. They've also got a fantastic midfield, and they do score goals for fun. As you all currently know. But yeah, I think they could win the league this season. Could Liverpool definitely. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult game for Manchester United. And like I did mention, we've obviously got to win this game anyway, so Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't possibly remain at the football club, because reports were indicating out the other week saying, if we was to obviously suffer a heavy defeat to Liverpool, that could put Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job in serious jeopardy at Manchester United. But then reports not too long ago came out, because there was a change of scene, and it did say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job at Manchester United will be safe for this present time and for at least the next couple of games, because obviously Liverpool are obviously doing a really well. I think actually Solskjaer has been given to the Norwich game, so if we do suffer a defeat to Norwich, which is obviously towards the back end of this month, that could obviously end Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. But obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is aware of the pressure he's under. It has been revealed how much it will cost Manchester United to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think the club will have to pay around £7 million to get rid of him, which is around £7 million in compensation, which is around half than what we paid to get rid of Jose Mourinho. Because I think we paid around, was it 19 or 20 million pounds to get rid of Jose Mourinho and that. But obviously the vast majority of Manchester United fans are demanding him out of the football club. Actually, a lot of Manchester United fans, do believe he will be gone by Christmas and that. Because I think, his tenure is not going to become successful at Manchester United. We're sitting just 2 points above relegation. 2 points just above relegation. So you can quite frankly say at the moment, we are facing a relegation battle. Like I mentioned, we haven't been relegated since 1974, which is obviously over 40 odd years ago now. And since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had got the job permanently, we've only won 5 of our last 23 games in all competitions, and it's also been revealed that we've got the 4th worst record in the Premier League since he got the job permanently. Like I mentioned, it's only Brighton, Southampton and Watford that have got worse records than Manchester United, because I think we've only registered 17 points from our last 17 games. But yeah, this is definitely not acceptable. And like I mentioned, I think the only reason that the board are sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at this present time is because obviously he was a club legend. He was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. And Solskjaer has got that proven pedigree as a player, and this is why I think the club are sticking with him at this present time. So I think the board are softening their stance, because if it had been any other manager now, I think there would have been sacked. Don't forget Solskjaer has got a 3-year contract, but he won't last that three year. He won't last for 3 years. But I think Solskjaer has enjoyed a difficult 7-month tenure with Manchester United, because overall he has been at the football club for just under a year. So he has been here for around 10 months, but reflecting back when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager, he did really well. He got the best out of these group of players. He exceeded expectations. The results were good, the performances were good, and he won 14 out of 19 in total whilst he was the interim manager in that 3-month period. But it's just seemed to me, since he's got the job, everything of course has just seemed to have all gone wrong basically. But yeah, he isn't the right man to elevate Manchester United forward. Like I mentioned, due to our inconsistency, I think, everyone needs to take the blame. Solskjaer's got to take some responsibility, because some of the blame does stem from him. His tactics in that are questionable, and I will admit, we are tactically inept. He hasn't really got any intuition as a manager. Hasn't really got that managerial experience as Solskjaer. So they're my element of concerns I've got about him. Obviously, a lot of the players have got to take a lot of responsibility, because they haven't hit the ground running. They're not playing with any heart, any desire, or no passion. And as we all know, we are lacking leaders in the team. Some of the blame also stems from Ed Woodward, but I think the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board. Because the board weren't ruthless enough during the course of the summer, and they didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough. I think the board have been a liability for several years, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I think the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, and I think the board do need to assure structural changes at the football club. Whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. But yeah, we've got to start getting wins, because we've only won 2 games so far in the league this season. We're actually enjoying a worse season this season than what we saw last season, and last season was bad enough. We finished 6th. Obviously, we failed to qualify for the Champions League, and I did say with our failure to qualify for the Champions League, that was one of the what? All right. Yeah. Yeah, right. That was one of the main factor reasons, went against us in the summer transfer window, because obviously if you're not in Champions League football, then obviously it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level. But like I mentioned, there's still certain Manchester United fans, not a lot of them, but still certain Man United fans and some former Manchester United players believe we should stick with Solskjaer and we should give him at least a couple more windows, to see who else, he can recommend to the football club. Because like I do keep mentioning, analysing the majority of this Manchester United team, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Obviously, the vast majority of this team is Jose Mourinho's, because obviously, Jose Mourinho recommended 11 players in. Of course, Solskjaer is still inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players. So we do know that a massive rebuild is needed at the football club. Recently Ferdinand came out and he says Man United would be naive to sack Solskjaer. Also, Gary Neville came out and he actually criticised the Man United board. You got Ryan Giggs recently coming out saying, we need to, give him more time to see who else he can recommend into the football club. But like I recently said, I think we need at least 5 to 6 more signings, maybe even more, if we are to be back, to being a competitive elite level football club. This is what basically need, and I think Solskjaer is already making plans for the January window. I think Solskjaer's actually given Ed Woodward around 6 potential transfer targets, and that obviously we've got quite a lot of players on our agenda, who we could go in for in January and maybe next summer. I actually believe personally that we'll probably do the vast majority of our transfer business next summer, so we'll probably won't spend a lot in January. We may try and get 1 or 2 players in January, but I think we'll do the vast majority of it next summer. And I also do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the aspect, that he did recommend 3 good players to the squad during the summer. Obviously, we spent nearly around £150 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and on Harry Maguire, and we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far, because I think they've enjoyed fantastic starts to their Manchester United careers. They've done really, really well, and I'm happy during the summer that we did address some of the problematic areas. We got that experienced centre half in, we also got that right back in, but we didn't address all the problematic areas. So for me, Man United, need to recommend a midfielder in, because that's one of the priority areas where Man United need to strengthen up. We need to have depth in that midfield. We need creativeness in that midfield. We definitely need an attacker. We need a striker. We need someone that can assure us goals. We need someone that can lead the lines. We need someone that can be effective in the box, and we need to get we need to recruit a replacement for Romelu Lukaku, basically. But yeah, we definitely need a striker, because I think, we look very exposed in that attacking line, following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez. And obviously, due to the injuries of Anthony Martial, obviously, Rashford, was injured, not too long ago. But, we've lacked goals this season. We've only scored 9 goals so far this season in 8 Premier League games. And, that's really, really bad. And I think we've scored like 1 goal in every single game we've scored in this season, prior to the Chelsea game on the opening day of this season, because we did score 4 against Chelsea on the opening day of the season. But yeah, definitely further more investment is needed into the football club, and if Solskjaer, is still to be here by January, I think we are. I think he's keen on sticking to the policy of recruiting young British players, like he did do earlier on in the summer. But yeah, a massive rebuild still needed. I think, despite the fact that a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe, these more problematic players of the football club that do need to be moved on in January or next summer, in my opinion. But yeah, so as you all know, we have got a lot of injuries and that. You can take that into account, but obviously, you can't use that as an excuse. The good news is the vast majority of our players that are injured, are going to be available. They're going to regain full fitness, to be available on Sunday against Liverpool and that. Obviously, I gave you the news, didn't I, earlier on regarding David De Gea. Obviously, it is negative feedback I'm going to give you. Well, I did give you negative feedback on it. There was recent reports indicating saying that David De Gea could be a doubt for the Liverpool game on Sunday. He could actually miss his first Premier League game in 7 years. Could David De Gea. It did confirm that David De Gea had sustained an injury whilst he was on international duty with Spain. Obviously, Spain did play Sweden yesterday evening, and it was a 1-1 draw. David De Gea had to come off in the second half. I think he has sustained some kind of leg injury. We don't know the extent of the injury is actually unknown, so we don't know how severe the injury is. I do presume that, he will be further assessed in the next couple of days, but hopefully, the injury is not too severe. So obviously, if David De Gea can't be involved on Sunday, then obviously, we'll have to go with Sergio Romero in goal. Obviously, Sergio Romero is our second choice goalkeeper. Obviously, he's not reliable enough to become our number one goalkeeper. He obviously mainly plays in the Cup and the Europa League games, but it's not fully assured that David De Gea will miss the game on Sunday, but there's reports saying that it could be a doubt for the game on Sunday, but we'll see what happens. But like I mentioned, Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw, Paul Pogba and Wan-Bissaka, I think they're obviously key players that are reportedly expected to return for Manchester United. Now, obviously Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw have obviously both missed the last 6 or 7 games for Manchester United with injury. Martial and Luke Shaw have not played since the 2-1 home defeat to Crystal Palace, obviously. And I thought, to be fair, Anthony Martial enjoyed a fantastic start to the season. Obviously, before he sustained this injury. And Martial, is a very, very imperative player. He is still only 23 years of age. He does predominantly play out wide on the left, but he seems to be more effective in that central position. I think that's where he'll be playing against Liverpool, in that central position. So maybe could actually rest Rashford, or he probably may put, a Rashford out on the flank. But they are compatible, Rashford and Martial, because they can both play in the same positions and that. But I just think Martial's more the standout player centrally. And Martial is now in his 5th season at Man United. He scored over 50 goals for the football club. Obviously, he got a new contract back in January, and he has been here since the Louis van Gaal Moreira. But it will be good to see Anthony Martial back in contention. Like I mentioned, it will bring back a lot of memories for Anthony Martial, because don't forget, he did score on his debut against Liverpool back in 2015 when we beat them 3-1, and we did get Martial as a 19-year-old, don't forget. But it will be good to see him back in contention. It will be good to see Luke Shaw back in contention. Luke Shaw has been a big miss. Obviously, Luke Shaw is our first choice left back, and I know a lot of people talk about him being injury prone, and I will agree on that aspect. Luke Shaw is injury prone, nowhere near to the extent of Eric Bailly, because Eric Bailly's a lot more injury prone than Luke Shaw. But my overarching view on Luke Shaw is, prior to his injuries and his bad spell under Mourinho, I think he's done really, really well for the football club, and he has still now got a lot of development minimums, Luke Shaw, and we do know the difference he can make on that left hand side. But he's expected to return for the game against Liverpool. Luke Shaw did win the double player of the season last season, reflecting on his impressive performances. Wan-Bissaka, like I said, a lot of people believe he's been our most consistent signing as Wan-Bissaka, and I will agree on that. I think he has been our most consistent signing. Obviously, Manchester United paid around, was it £50 million for him, and I think if he does keep the consistency up, his valuation will persistently grow. Wan-Bissaka's missed the last 3 games for the club. Obviously, due to the illness he's had. I think he's been out with tonsillitis. But yeah, it's assured he will be back for Sunday. And with Paul Pogba, I know there was reports speculating out earlier on this week. There was reports speculating out earlier on this week. There was reports speculating out earlier on this week, saying that he could miss the game against Liverpool. This is what it had basically said, due to the ongoing foot injury that's been surrounding the player for a matter of weeks. But now I think he's fighting to be fully fit for the game against Liverpool, because Paul Pogba I think has missed the last 5. He's missed 5 of the last 7 games, I think, due to this injury. So he's missed quite a lot of games this season. Paul Pogba obviously, hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected, and that, he's mainly endured a difficult time at Manchester United, since he rejoined the club from Juventus back in 2016. He's mainly endured a difficult time, in comparison to his time, when he was at Juventus. But, we have seen Pogba at his best as a Manchester United player. We mainly saw the best of Paul Pogba in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. we mainly saw the best of Paul Pogba. But when he's at his best, he's arguably one of the best midfielders in the world. He is only 26 years of age, and he has still got a lot of development in him. But you can see the difference when Paul Pogba's in that midfield and when Paul Pogba is taken out of the equation. You can definitely now see the difference, because when Pogba's on form, he's like two players in one. He can score goals, he can provide and stuff. He hasn't actually yet scored this season as Paul Pogba. In my opinion, I still believe Pogba wants out of the football club, like he did do for the entirety of the summer. So I think he's one of the players that will leave in January or next summer. I do believe his preference is to move to Real Madrid, like it was, during the summer. And I did explain the reason why Paul Pogba's move to Real Madrid never materialised during the course of the summer. Is basically because, the substantial amount we put on him, we wanted around 180 million. Real Madrid were not willing to pay up to the 180 million pounds for Paul Pogba, because Real Madrid themselves spent a substantial amount during the summer. They spent around 300 million pounds on 5 players. You got reports also speculating out the other week, as I do keep mentioning, saying that Paul Pogba was demanding a substantial amount, to extend his contract with Manchester United. He was demanding £600,000 a week, which equates to around £30 million a year. And I can't see Manchester United, willing to meet his wage demands. And I do believe we've been keen on trying to get him a new contract. Paul Pogba on his current deal at the moment, he's on around 290 grand a week. So in that aspect, he is one of the highest paid players at the football club, and he's still got 2 years left on his current deal, with an option, to extend it by a further year. And, there was a lot of rumours about him possibly making a return back to Turin. There was other teams that were in for him as well as Real Madrid, but it was mainly Real Madrid, that were in for him. So I think, he should be available for Sunday. Lingard should be available for Sunday. He really needs to step up to the plate. I've been very, very infuriated with Jesse Lingard, because like I mentioned, reflecting on his status at the football club, he should be putting much more better performances out. And Lingard's on just over 100 grand a week at Manchester United. He's been out of a hamstring problem. Like I said, Eric Bailly obviously won't be in contention, because obviously he's he's a long-term absence. He's out until the end of December or the new year with a knee injury that he had sustained throughout pre-season. Fossil Mensah, I still obviously think he's out with injury. He's been out with injury now for quite some time. As you all know, Fossil Mensah returned to the club earlier on in the summer, because last season he was on loan with Fulham. He was on loan there with Fulham, as you all know. Diego Dalot is out with injury. Don't forget he came off injured in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle last time out. He sustained quite a few injuries this season as Dalot. Obviously he's one of our backup options at that fullback position. I think he's played 2 or 3 times this season as Dalot, but I would still give him more time at the football club. Like I mentioned, he's only been here since last summer as Diego Dalot. But yeah, we need to definitely give him more time at the football club. Phil Jones has obviously been out with injury. I think this is why he missed. This is why he's missed. I think this is why he missed the game against Alkmaar. Obviously, he won't really get any chances in the Premier League, and that because obviously Solskjaer's first choice is Lindelof and Harry Maguire. But yeah, he's been out with injury. Lindelof, of course, has been out with a back injury. This is why he missed a 1-0 defeat to Newcastle. I think that's the only game he's missed in the Premier League this season. Lindelof, we know the difference he does make in that back line. I don't think he's quite emulated to that level as yet, but I think he will get to that level, because I think he's flourishing at Manchester United. I think he's had a couple of bad games this season, but I think prior to that, he has mainly done well, and he has complemented, Harry Maguire in our back line. I think they have blended in very, very well together, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. So we have obviously we've had a lot of players out with injury and that, but you can't use that as an excuse, reflecting on our bad run performances. And like I mentioned, we've got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United. And like I said, I've got some element of concerns, about certain young upcoming players. What I mean is, I don't think all of them are going to become a success at Manchester United. I think I've been reading recent reports, and it does actually say, we are considering, loaning Chong, Angel Gomez and Jimmy Garner out in January, because I do think we need to loan some of the young upcoming players out, because maybe they're not good enough to represent Manchester United, or if we loan them out, it'll be beneficial for their career, and also it will gain them more experience in that. But I can assure that a couple of young players will become a success. I can definitely assure that Mason Greenwood, will become a success at the football club, because I think Mason Greenwood, the games he's played in this season, he's been absolutely fantastic for Manchester United. I know he hasn't yet played from the start in the Premier League so far this season. I think he's made around 6 substitute appearances as Mason Greenwood. He did actually start in the cup games against Rochdale and, FC Astana. He obviously scored in them 2 particular games, so came up with a moment of quality. And, I think with Mason Greenwood's been assured more minutes under his belt, if he does keep the consistency up, and he only turned 18 years of age at the beginning of this month. So I think he's already become a fruition at the club. But I think by the time he's 23, 24, he will be a success. He will be a world-class centre-forward, and I think, he also will be a success in that, in my opinion. Tuanzebe, I can also assure, he'll become a success. He hasn't played much this season. He's played in quite a few games, but he hasn't played much. But I think in the games, he has played Tuanzebe. I think he's actually been very, very impressive in that. So I have been very, very impressed, with Tuanzebe. He's predominantly a centre back, but like I mentioned, he can also play as a full back and that. Tuanzebe. So we have got quite a few versatile defenders, as you all know. I've got some, like I mentioned, I've got element of concerns about Chong, definitely. Chong is totally a comparison to Mason Greenwood. I don't think he's as effective as Mason Greenwood. Chong's played a couple of games this season, and I think he's actually looked below par. He did well in a couple of games throughout pre-season, did Chong, but I have got element of concerns about him. So yeah, it would be beneficial to loan him out in January. Jimmy Garner, I don't think he's yet played this season, but played a couple of games throughout pre-season, if I can remember rightly. Angel Gomez, maybe he also needs to be loaned out. He's obviously another one of our midfield options. Again, I think Angel Gomez is definitely comparison to Scott McTominay, because McTominay has actually done really, really well this season for Man United, and I don't know if he's a long-term solution for Man United. I wouldn't consider loaning McTominay out, because I think he's done well this season, and I think if he can keep the consistency up, I think McTominay can definitely become a success at Manchester United without a shadow of a doubt. But I've got element of concerns about him, in regards to him, being the long-term solution for the football club. But McTominay is still only 22 years of age. But like I mentioned, I think any of our midfield options are much better options than Matic, because Matic is very inconsistent. He's a player we need to move on in January, more next summer, because Matic, he can pass the ball well at times, but for me, he's just too slow, too predictable, makes that midfielder look totally imbalanced. And Matic isn't getting any younger. He's now 31 years of age. Again, Manchester United overpaid for him. We're known for overpaying for players. In recent years, we overpaid for Matic. We paid £40 million for Matic from Chelsea back in 2017. We overpaid for Fred. We paid just under £50 million for Fred. I do agree we overpaid for Harry Maguire, but to be fair, I think Harry Maguire has enjoyed a fantastic start to his Manchester United career, and I do believe, he has addressed our defensive deficiencies fantastically well. But yeah, we're definitely known for overpaying for players. And my opinions on Fred, I think he's had the odd good game for Manchester United. A lot of Man United fans have got element of concerns about him. A lot of them don't think he's good enough to represent the football club. But I would, in my opinion, I would give Fred a bit more time. His performance was abysmal against Newcastle, but he needs more time, because he's only been at the football club since last summer. Don't forget. We know he hasn't performed nowhere near to the standard, as he did do at Shakhtar Donetsk, because actually he was an exceptional player at Shakhtar Donetsk and that. My overarching view on Andres Pereira, he needs to be given more time at the football club. Don't forget he's been on loan. Andres Pereira was on loan with in Spain with Granada and Valencia, but obviously he returned to the club earlier on in the summer. He's played quite a few times this season, Pereira. I think he's only had one good game this season, what I recall, and that was the 1-1 draw with Arsenal. He's played on the right hand side quite a few times, but yeah, I would give him more time at the football club. But like I said, yeah, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, but we've also got a lot of experienced players in the squad. We've got a lot of players there that are aging up and that, like I mentioned. Yeah, and and like I mentioned, Solskjaer, is aware of the expectations at Manchester United, and obviously he's got to exceed expectations at levels at the football club if he wants to remain at Man United. I said we've got to get back into that top four this season, so we can obviously get back into the Champions League and that. And to be fair, I know it's only early on in the season, but I've already disregarded the top four. I think the way things are going at the moment, we could end up, finishing maybe, 8th, 9th, if things do continue to persist, I think we'll struggle to finish even in the top 8. If I'm going to be quite honest with you, but Solskjaer actually fears that he will be sacked by the football club anywhere if we do finish out of the top 6 this season. This is what he does believe. But I want Solskjaer to bring that fear factor back to Manchester United, and I want him to bring that winning mentality back to the football club. But I've got huge doubts about that. But like I mentioned, Solskjaer cannot invoke Ferguson's legacy at Manchester United to save him. Ferguson, was just fantastic. We had 26 years of success under him. Obviously, Ferguson controlled the transfer policies. He also, control the contracts. He bought players, but he also developed a lot of young players and that. And we had a great team under the Alex Ferguson era. And obviously now we know that we're no longer under the Alex Ferguson era. We haven't been in the Alex Ferguson era for just over 6 years now, because obviously he retired back in 2013. And I mentioned this is a different era with different players and different groups. That we are building and that. Solskjaer was used to say, not many clubs have our stature, of playing the young players. But yeah, I don't think we'll ever be the team, that we was under Alex Ferguson. Like I mentioned, regardless of who our manager is. But like I mentioned, it's worse under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, than what it was under the Jose Mourinho era and that. And Jose Mourinho, served 2.5 years at Manchester United, as you all know. He served 2.5 years at the football club. The Jose Mourinho, he's actually he's had the longest tenure at the football club since the Alex Ferguson era. And I already give you the reasons, why it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho, is because obviously he had bad disputes with the board, and he had bad disputes with some of the top players, and the board weren't backing the signings that he wanted to recommend to the football club last summer. But it didn't work out under him, despite the fact he won the Europa League and the League Cup in his first season with Manchester United. And these are the reasons, why it didn't work out under him. I think, personally speaking, that the football club did recommend Jose Mourinho in too late. I think if we'd arguably, you could say, if we'd have got him in after Alex Ferguson's retirement, then maybe it would have been a different scenario with Manchester United and that. And like I did pinpoint out, one of the mistakes Alex Ferguson did make was obviously recommending David Moyes in. Obviously, David Moyes only lasted 10 months at Manchester United. He's actually had the shortest tenure with the football club, as since the Alex Ferguson era. But that was only the mistake that Ferguson, of course, did make. But analysing it in all the managerial eras, a hell of a lot of money has been invested into the football club. Like I mentioned, I think it must be around 700 or 800 million pounds that's been spent, since the Ferguson era, and that's just under £1 billion, and that's not taking into account, of course, what was spent under Alex Ferguson, but a hell of a lot of money has been invested into the football club. And like I mentioned, we've also, got players on big contracts, don't forget. Like I mentioned, you've got Rashford at just the age of 21 on 300 grand a week. You've got Martial on 200 grand a week. You've got Paul Pogba on 290 grand a week. You've got De Gea on 375 grand a week, the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, as you all know. You've got, Harry Maguire on 200 odd grand a week. You've got Lingard on just over 100 grand a week. So we have got players on massive wages at the football club. But like I mentioned, the majority of this team, do need a reality check without a shadow of a doubt. But yeah, like I mentioned, there's obviously no list of managers on our agenda, who could replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. Like I was talking a lot about it yesterday, wasn't I? Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation going on in the last 2 to 3 weeks at least about Max Allegri, becoming Manchester United's next manager. Obviously, I think he's our top priority. He's our top priority to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, Max Allegri recently come out and he quoted out that, he would like to recommend Patrice Evra on his coaching staff, if he was to become the new Manchester United boss. And he also did say not too long ago that he would come to Manchester United if he was to be assured the job within the next few weeks. So obviously he's imposed a deadline basically for Manchester United to obviously try and get him in. Obviously Max Allegri, I think he's interested in coming to Manchester United. I think he's interested, and he hasn't been managerless for that long. Don't forget Max Allegri only stepped down as Juventus manager at the end of last season. Don't forget he did serve 5 years with Juventus, did Max Allegri. He got Juventus to 2 Champions League finals. He also got Juventus to 2 Champions League finals. He also, won quite a bit of silverware with them. So the vast majority of silverware he won obviously came at Juventus. Max Allegri obviously, began his managerial career in 2003. So he's been managing now overall for around 16 years. He's obviously spent the entirety of his managerial career so far in Italy. He also spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy. But I think recent reports indicated out saying that Max Allegri is actually learning English in preparation for his potential move. I think he's in his 50s, so I think a lot of Man United fans, believe he would be the right candidate. But there's also other managers that are on our agenda. There's also been a lot of talks going on recently about Laurent Blanc, as I did update you yesterday. Laurent Blanc obviously has been managerless for quite some time now. I think he's been managerless nearly for 4 years, because he did step down as PSG manager back in 2016, was it? Obviously, the last team he managed was PSG. I think he served them around 3 years there with PSG. Obviously, before he was at PSG, he had a couple of years managing the France national team, and he actually began his managerial career with Bordeaux. He managed Bordeaux for around 3 years. But yeah, he began his managerial career in 2007, did Laurent Blanc. But Laurent Blanc obviously did play for Manchester United, during his playing career. I think he did serve a couple of years at the football club. I think he joined in 2001 to 2003. So obviously, that was back under the Alex Ferguson era. But yeah, there's been talks about him. I think it's unlikely he will come in, but there has been talks about him going on recently. He was actually linked to a vacant managerial position at Lyon, but I think someone else has now got the Lyon job. I think recently Arsene Wenger indicated out, that he was interested in the Lyon job. A lot of Man United fans believe that Arsene Wenger would be the right candidate for the football club. Arsene Wenger's been managerless for over a year now. He stepped down as Arsenal manager in May 2018. He served 22 years with Arsenal. And look, he had a pretty decent legacy. I think you can say Wenger had 12 years he had 12 good years out of the 22, when he was with Arsenal. So overall, mainly had a good tenure with them. But yeah, Pochettino, he's no longer, our primary candidate. He actually was, at one point before we actually, recommended Solskjaer into the football club. Was in for Pochettino for a long time, but obviously our preference was Solskjaer, because obviously, Solskjaer, he was a cheaper solution. We didn't have to pay that much to recommend him in, and plus, Solskjaer knows the traditions and that of the football club. But we was in for Pochettino at one time. Is there a possibility chance now we could reignite our interest in him. Obviously, Pochettino is actually under serious pressure at Tottenham, just like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is at Manchester United, so they are compatible in that aspect. I think if the managerial position came vacant at Manchester United and Pochettino was to get sacked and that, I think Pochettino, would grasp the opportunity, to come to a big club like Manchester United. Whether he would be the right man to elevate Manchester United forward or not, I do not know. Obviously, he's got that experience. He's got that managerial experience. He hasn't obviously won out in terms of silverware, and that's my element of concern about Mauricio Pochettino. Now, Pochettino has been managing since 2009. That's when he began his managerial career with Espanyol. So overall, he's been managing for just over a decade. Obviously, don't forget, before he was at Tottenham, he had a short tenure with Southampton where he did well. And now he's been at Tottenham 5 years and he's now into his 6th season at Tottenham. But he's good at developing a lot of young players and that. His philosophy seems to be good. And a lot of people believe he would be the right candidate for Manchester United. Probably more than likely would have to pay compensation to recommend him in. Would have to pay around 32 million in compensation. Despite the fact that, Pochettino's doesn't have a release clause, I think, in his contract, because he did sign a 5-year contract last summer with Tottenham worth around £8.5 million a year. So he's still on the list of managers, but he's not likely to come in. I honestly think it will be Max Allegri, if Solskjaer does get sacked from the football club. But definitely, the board will not stick with Solskjaer. A mistake for Manchester United as well was obviously giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. We should have never given him the job. But in a way, I do feel sorry for Solskjaer, because I do believe that the football club have put him in a difficult position, really. We've put him in a really, really difficult position. And I think he does need to go, and I hate to say that because I do love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot. But I think we just need someone, someone who can, take Manchester United forward, and we need to get someone in who can take the mantles on at this club and that, But yeah, it's not going to work out under Solskjaer. And, Solskjaer's our 4th permanent manager, since the Alex Ferguson era. And I did initially say, we haven't got all the structure to keep sacking managers, even though, we've already sacked 3 managers since the Alex Ferguson era. But if Solskjaer is sacked, he will be the 4th manager to be sacked since Ferguson. I haven't seen it, to be fair though, I haven't seen any improvements, under Solskjaer, than what I saw under Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, and of course David Moyes. But everything needs to improve. Our home form needs to improve because that's atrocious. We haven't won away from home since the PSG game last season when we did produce that miraculous comeback. The style of play also, needs to improve. Everything basically needs to improve at the football club. I already given me updates, didn't I, on recent videos about who I think Manchester United, should go in and sign in January. Like I mentioned, we have got players on our agenda. There has been a lot of talks going on about Moussa Dembele recently. There's also been a lot of talks about Declan Rice. There's been a lot of talks going on recently about Mario Mandzukic. Mario Mandzukic, I was reading reports about him the other day, and he did give you an update. He said Manchester United had reached a verbal agreement, to sign Mario Mandzukic in January. Reportedly, the Juventus sporting director Fabio Patissier, he's come out and said, he will hold more negotiations with Mario Mandzukic, because Mandzukic at Juventus has initially lost his place in the team. He hasn't played a single minute this season under Maurizio Sarri's guidance. He's going to be a cheap alternative, obviously, is Mario Mandzukic. Reportedly, Man United are convinced we can get him for around 9 or 10 million. I think the club are prepared to give him an 18-month contract, which will take him under contract with the club, I think, till 2021. So that's a year and a half, isn't it? 18 months. I think we're set to pay him around 4.4 million a year, which equates to around £85,000 a week. But don't forget, we was in for Mario Mandzukic during the summer. We inquired about getting him towards the back end of the window. Mandzukic is 33 years of age. And if he comes in, he will have depth in that attacking line. He can show the likes of Rashford, Daniel James and Martial how to be more effective in the box. But I think my element of concern about him is his age. He's now 33 years of age. So you can quite say anyway he's only got a couple of years left in his footballing career. But Mandzukic, can score goals. He's proven that in the years he's been with Juventus. I think for Juventus he scored 44 goals in 162 games, which is obviously very, very impressive. But I think he's one of our top priorities, for January. But yeah, obviously we're seeing him as an adequate replacement for Romelu Lukaku. Do you think Moussa Dembele, would be the right type of player for Man United? Like I mentioned, he's also an out-and-out number 9. He's Moussa Dembele. So would you like him, to come in to the football club? But yeah, we'll see who we can try and recommend in January. But I do believe, the players we was in for during the summer probably reignite our interest in some of them in January. Maybe we'll leave some until next summer. But yeah, definitely, further more investment is needed in the squad. And that's mainly everything to update with. So for me, Manchester United, must win against Liverpool, and that's really it. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.